Hey folks, welcome to another Meeple Top 10. In this one I am recording literally the bank holiday before the Games Expo. A little bit under the weather, just a bit of a headache, probably just because the 2-week audit I've been on is kind of caught up with me and I just need some rest. But that's why I'm taking a bit of a rest today. Mainly just to record this video and then chill out. Do some chilling out before, I suppose, planning for the expo in just a few days. So if you are there and this video is released before then, I don't know if it will be because I've only just released a recent solo play video, so this will probably come out during the expo, probably about Friday, Saturday time. So if the expo is on, this video is released and you see me there, then by all means say hi, it will be good to see you. So what am I talking about today? Board game apps. Now, this has been highly requested. And I can see why. It's a very popular area. I like solo games as well, and sometimes when I'm taking my tablet away with me on holiday, travel, or audits, for example, it's good to be able to just flip it open and play a game. Board games sometimes translate better to an app than they do to an actual tabletop cardboard version. You'll certainly see some examples of that on this list. Now, the caveats with this one, firstly, obviously I need to have played it. There are a lot of apps out there and I do have quite a few of them, but there's a lot of them, and they cost money. So I have to be a little bit careful with just how many there are. But I'm sure if I came up with this list of 10, you guys could probably come up with your own list of 10. There's so many out there and there's a lot of good ones, but there are some pretty bad ones as well. The second caveat is that it must be on an app device. So I'm sorry, as much as Mystic Vale is a fantastic digital board game, and even Scythe is a pretty good digital board game, they're not going to make the cut. Because I wanted this to be about apps that specifically I could play on my smartphone or my tablet. One of the best things about having a board game app is that I can take it with me. So I'm going on a train, a plane, a hotel, whatever. I have this with me, I can just lie in bed, lie on the seat or whatever, and just play a game. If I have to glue myself to my desktop PC to play the game, that kind of ruins the portability issue and kind of makes it like, well, okay, maybe it's a bit quicker than the tabletop version, but I've still got to sit on my PC and play it. I want to have it on this. So maybe in the future there'll be enough digital board games where I can do that, but I'll give honourable mentions to Scythe and Mystic Vale now. They are very good digital board games and you should check them out. And I believe Mystic Vale has actually got an app version for Android and Apple in the works. So soon that should be alleviated. So for now, let's get on with my top 10 board game apps. Now obviously I can't get the board game app itself, I can't sort of put it on the screen and then show it to you like that, because that's not really going to work. So what you'll just basically see is pictures of the app itself, and if I can get some B-roll footage, I will. Obviously I'm not going to play through every single app and get B-roll footage and put that on, because that will take me forever. But, I'm sure there's some B-roll footage out there I can acquire, or I'll just use photos, because there's plenty enough social media photos when it comes to board game apps. But my number 10 is Carcassonne, a classic board game app, a classic game in fact. I'm in an iron about whether to put this on the list or another one. 10 and 11 were duking it out quite horrendously on this one. But Carcassonne, it's a decent app in its own right. It's very clear from the user interface what to show for it. It's colourful, it's easy to see what's going on. You can even tailor it to have easy mode where you don't have to have the farmers, if you're a bit confused by that. But you can also put it on normal mode, and then of course you can, from the DLC, buy the various expansions like the Inner Cathedrals, the Traders and Merchants, was it Traders and Builders? Yeah, Traders and Builders, and various other ones besides. So it's got a lot of replay value. Playing it with the AI, you can mix it from easy to hard, and it can get quite challenging at later levels. Makes for a good pass and play version of the game because you can sort of look at the map, scroll around on it, choose your thing, orientate your tiles. You can even select options to show you the broken tiles, because sometimes that's a bit hard for people to spot, so it'll automatically X out some of those ones. And it's easy to tell. It's like, right, that's going to put my meeple there, dunk, chunk, and then you can sort of go, right, well, I'm going to put it there. Hang on, if I orientate it like that, orientate it like that, orientate it like that, and it tells you legal spots it can go, so you don't have to do what you see in a tabletop version where somebody gets those tiles and goes, over every single spot, trying to figure out if it does or not, when you can clearly see there's a city on there and there's no city on that tile to plug it next to. Seriously, I have come across some people who are like, duh. But anyway, I digress. So, yeah, Carcassonne, pretty decent. Doesn't necessarily make it much quicker. And one thing I will say with this top 10 in general is that I'm not just thinking about, oh, do I love the game? This is more a case of how much does the app experience improve on the game? Does it make it better to play? Does it make it easier to play? Does it shorten the time length? Does it get rid of a lot of fiddly bookkeeping? That kind of thing. With this one, it's kind of a mix and match. I mean, you know, it's nice to have those little aids for where I can put the tile and rotating it, but it doesn't necessarily shorten it that much from a typical game of Carcassonne because it is a relatively short game. But it deserves credit. It's a solid one, good amount of replay value. 10, Carcassonne. My number 9 is another classic game. Well, actually, no, not so much classic. It's probably, what now, 5 to 7 years old now? Something like that. It's been around a while, but it's a very popular gateway game. It is still the gateway game of choice that I take to a lot of places, as well as some recent ones. My parents love it as well, so I may even manage to teach it to them, which is surprising, even though it took a while. And that is Splendor. Splendor is an easy gateway game in its own right, and obviously the app doesn't need to do a huge amount in order to translate it from board game to app version, but the app is just nice and seamless, very colourful, very easy user interface. You can easily tell how to reserve a card, take gems, what piles you're allowed, how many gems you've got at the bottom is easy to see. You can click on you can see on the opponent's bit easily, a lot easier than trying to stare across the table, what cards they've got, what gems they've got. It automatically flashes up cards that you are eligible to buy, so you don't have to see all the cards there. And sometimes it might even help in a sense, because you'll be collecting a bunch of gems, and it's like, what can I do this to? Oh, I can get that one now, because I wasn't even looking at that one. You can set the AI to different modes. Of course, you've got multiplayer as well, pass and play. But it's just, this one gets the slight edge of a Carcassonne because it's just so easy, so seamless. I mean, Splendor is not a difficult game either, you know, so translating it to an app isn't too difficult, but then it's a longer game than something like, you know, a 10-15 minute filler. So to be able to easily say, right, you know, have you never played Splendor before? All right, well, before I give you the tabletop version, how about you just play this app version? They'll be able to learn it. There's a tutorial on it, works just fine to tell you what it is. Nice and simple, really. You know, it's one that I play quite often because it is one that I can basically, in like 30 minutes or less, I can churn out. No, actually, 30 minutes? What am I talking about? Last game I played, because I was playing a bunch of the apps this morning to get another sort of, what's the word, a reminder in my head of how they worked. And I think I played the game in about 9 minutes, 9.5 minutes to get a game of Splendor out. Nice and quick. I mean, that's perfect when you literally are like, oh, I've just turned up. Oh god, my friend's late again, fine. Oh, you're going to be 10 minutes. Alright, fine. Splendor it is. And it just works nicely for that. So number 9, solid Splendor. My number 8 is a 2-player only app. And this one, again, is not a difficult one to replicate. Well, actually, no, this one's a bit more harder to replicate on an app than most 2-player games, because it's a little bit more involved, and that is the great Jaipur. Jaipur is, I think I've got the tabletop version here. Very popular 2-player game with the masses, brilliant for gateway gamers. It's a solid card game in its own right. The app itself, whew, it is beautiful. Beautiful artwork across the board. It's an easy one to get into. It can teach you how to play. You've got different AI modes. And you even have challenges and various things where it tweaks the rules a little bit or gives you like more ways to enjoy it from a solo perspective. It's easy to see on the screen. Everything is clearly laid out. It is a solid 2-player app in its own right, and it's not a huge amount more to say. I mean, you can crank out a game in next to no time at all. It works great for pass and play, works great for online as well. And again, with those challenges, you have a good amount of replay value if you are like me, more of a solo player with these apps than an online multiplayer experience. And with Jaipur, there's a bit more going on in it that you have to be able to replicate in an app. It's not like, you know, oh, just move this piece, that's all it's got to replicate. No, you've got the row of cards, you've got the market cards, you've got what you can afford, you've got the tokens that are shown to see like how many there are of each, you've got your VPs, the camels. There's quite a fair amount going on for the app to do. But does it seamlessly? Never had a problem with it buggy-wise. You know, it's obviously it doesn't have a lot in the sense of DLC, but then it doesn't really need it because it's kind of self-contained. But whew, it certainly does get some brownie points for just being beautiful. I don't even know I don't know if Vincent Dutrait did the artwork for the app, I'm not sure, maybe not, but it looks a bit like his style. But whew, it's just so colourful, so rich. You know, it just pops on the screen, works great for a phone as well, and that's one thing that, you know, sometimes a smartphone struggles with an app more than the tablet version, but works, if anything, Jaipur kind of works a little bit better on a smartphone, really, just because there's only so much you need on the screen. But I like it on both. It's not expensive to buy, solid two-player game, Jaipur for 8. My number 7 is a Omniverse game, and well, that kind of gives it away because there's only one Omniverse game I'm aware of that's turned into an app, and that is Onirim. Onirim, can't quite reach it from here, so I'm not going to bother, but this is probably the best, if not second best, of my opinion, of the Omniverse range. For many people it is the best. It is a simple card game, solitaire only, where you have to open these doors in order to get out of a dream world, and to do so you have to play cards in a sequence, use keys, manipulate the deck, and avoid these nightmare cards as much as possible, which just hound you at every turn. Now this is a very simple game, and it's not a difficult one to replicate on an app, but this one goes up a few places because of the one aspect that an app must do, and that is make the game so much easier to play. And I don't just mean from a tutorial aspect, and it does have a tutorial on there, which is really good, but one of the things that irks me with the normal card game of Onirim is the amount of shuffling you have to do. Every time you do something, it's like okay, you have had a nightmare, resolve that, shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. You've just done this with the shuffle, 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 shuffle. You just turn up the door, shuffle, 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 shuffle. It's like you literally do nothing but shuffle in this game, as well as, and play it, obviously. But the amount of shuffling you do is just horrendous. So the app literally just being able to go, okay, here are your cards. Pick which order you want them from a key, for example. So I want that over there, that over there, that over there, do it. And nice and easy. And then the nightmare pops up. Takes your cards, you select one of the options. It's like, okay, discard 5 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it just does it in like a second. None of this like having to do it with your own hand, where you know, by the time you've got halfway through the game, it's like that you've broken your wrist. But it just does it nice and seamlessly. So, you know, it has, obviously there's not a huge amount to replicate on the screen. It's just, here's my card, legal placement. You know, the nightmares are quite cool because they sort of pop up, fill the entire screen and just go, there's your cards, now what are you going to do? So, and they're a pain in the butt when they turn up. So, easy interface, and you can even expand it with some of the DLC. I don't think they've unlocked all the expansions that the second edition had. That is one slight flaw, but you can get glyphs, I think you can get the Omniverse doors, and you can get one of the others, I can't remember what it's called, but I mean, you can expand it over time with more DLC to add those expansions. So it's a solid app, if only just because your wrist will be safer from not having to shuffle so many cards. Number 6 is easily a classic in its own right. This one gets played a lot on an app version. It saves you having to get one of your, like, you know, the big boards out. It just works great for online play as well as pass and play when you're on a plane. It's nice and colourful, easy to use, easy to play. Tutorial works just fine. Ticket to Ride. What more do you need? I mean, this one you can expand it with all the maps, so you can have whatever map you like and just play that. Against the AI, it's pretty challenging, particularly when you up the difficulty slightly, but it just does it nice and quick. Again, 10 to 20 minutes, you're getting a game done, and it's colourful. In fact, the only thing I can flaw this app from a just general build point of view is that theme music at the start of the game is so annoying. When you sort of like going through the menu screen and it's like ding 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 ding, stupid bell music that's playing. It's like, get out of my face. But you know, the app itself, all that replay value, easy to play. You know, you collect the cards, you just press on the app to get them, and then it's like, right, I want to build this track here, selects it, does it for you, nice and quick. And one thing that it really does, which is oh so needed, the points. One thing that has plagued a lot of Ticket to Ride players is that you have to, you know, count up the points, and most people just count them up at the very end, because trying to remember, did I score for your track? Did you score for mine? I'm not sure, is painful during the game. But it's even more painful when you've just had this quick filler game, and then at the very end you've got to go, right, stop everything, we can't leave, let's count up all the tracks. Oh god, and it's a mental arithmetic nightmare. With this one though, does it as you go through, so it just keeps it track, no have to worry about somebody missing your score, so it just keeps everything smooth, flowing, and of course looks beautiful and colourful with a good amount of replay value. Ticket to Ride, it's been a popular app for ages, it's easy to see why. Number 5 is probably, of course it's not the heaviest game on this list, what I'm on about, but it's a light game normally, but it's a fairly sort of big table hogging space of a worker placement game. This one has only the one expansion, well technically 2, but it's one expansion with 2 modules in it, which you can buy really cheap as DLC, and that is Lords of Waterdeep. Lords of Waterdeep is a great worker placement game. You know, okay, it's not the most thematic thing in the world, but it's just so simple. You know, here's your spaces, here's your workers, get their guys, complete the quests. And then there's a few little intrigue cards and various other things to throw in. Granted, I do prefer this game with the corruption expansion, definitely. You know, Scoundrels of Skullport, but you can buy each one for something like £1.50. You know, each module. So £3 you can have that full expansion on the app, and you can play with the corruption mechanic, which I do love in games, when you have that sort of thing of, you can, look, we'll give you this very nice stuff, it's very nice, yes, but you gotta suffer for it. It's kind of like having Grima Wormtongue on your shoulder, sort of going, it's like, you can have that great card, yes, it's great, you should totally take it, ignore the wizard. You know, so it's just something to tempt you into taking the stuff that you know you shouldn't take, but you just kind of want to. But that aside, the app itself, easy. It replicates the board properly in its entirety, with the buildings down the side. You can easily tell what's going on. You have to scroll a little bit on a phone, but on a tablet it works just fine. And it's kind of like, it just speeds up that experience. Because Lords of Waterdeep has a reasonable amount of admin to deal with, you know, with the turns and the cards and that. You've also got the big board and everybody's player board and all the cards, so it is a bit of a table hog. So it certainly isn't a portable game. I mean, you could take an Iron with you, the card game, on your travels. You're not taking Lords of Waterdeep on your travels. No way. That ain't happening. So with this one, it takes a game which normally would still take you a good 90 minutes to play and condenses it down in a good 30 minutes. You know, 40 max, I suppose, but I'd say 30 minutes is probably the top it should take. And, you know, it speeds it up when you have more players, because more players gives you more of that turn angst, but yeah, right, do I want to play this with 5 players when it's human players, because the downtime gets ridiculous. With an app, boop, 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 your turn, boop, 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 your turn. You know, nice and quick, even with 5 players, you know, trying to screw you over. Definitely needs that DLC to really last as a game, but you have it available, and it's like, you know, I want something a little bit more involved. This is a cool app to do. It manages to shorten the playtime, alleviate the bookkeeping, you know, certainly condense down on table space and add to portability, and bring some new life into what is already a great, if somewhat forgotten by this time, worker placement game, Lords of Waterdeep. My number 4 is this the newest app? I'm not sure actually. I've got a feeling it might be the newest app, but I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe my 1 or 2 is more recent. But this one is an app that we were crying out for ages. I think there was like scoring apps for this, but there was never a proper decent app for it. And then finally, our prayers were answered for 7 Wonders. 7 Wonders finally got an app, and it is a good one. Oh yes. You know, whatever player count you want to shove in it, doesn't matter, it'll make it nice and quick, although to be fair, I quite like playing 7 Wonders just as a free player game, because I like my 2 neighbours to literally be like the focus. I need to concentrate on these 2 people. So I like playing free player games with it. The DLC is easy to get hold of for leaders and cities. I look forward to them adding stuff like Babel and Armada in the future. You know, that would be good. But, you know, it's got leaders and cities at the moment, which for most people will do them just fine. It's got a very clear interface to see who's got what resource, how much money you've got. As the cards come out for you to draft, it will highlight which ones you can not get at all, which ones you can get with no problem, which ones are from chain buildings, and which ones will cost you money, and if so, how much money. Click on the card, it will then bring up the 2 guys next to you, and it's like, right, you could spend free money and get it from this dude, or you could pay 4 money, but you pay this dude instead. It just easily shows you from the user interface what is what, without having to stare across the table at lots of different cards, which players might have hidden under their boards or shuffled weirdly or anything like that. Nice and clear. Same for the military strength. And of course, the turns play very quickly, because you basically just go, bunk, choose that card, dunk, choose that card. You don't have to wait for everyone else to catch up. Military conflict, literally flashes up the name on the screen. They come up, clearly shows who gets the victory points. Moving on, age 2. I mean, you can get a game of 7 Wonders on the app done in such a quick time, it's unreal. Even with all the expansions. So with those expansions, you've got more replay value, you can tailor it for how many players you want, and of course you could just play it pass and play or online with other players as well, so it's got a good amount of replay value. There's a good tutorial on there that will teach you how to play the game, a lot better than a human player probably will, and it's just really solid. We've waited a long time for 7 Wonders, and finally we've got it, and it works very well. I have played this game probably more so in the last year on the app than I have the tabletop version. But that's not to say I ever want to get rid of the tabletop version. No. I mean, where's my 7? You know, it's going to stay there and it's going to be in my collection forever. But it's just nice that, you know what, I haven't got anybody to play 7 Wonders with. 2 computers, 2 expansions, leaders and cities. I'm on a plane. I can get this, you know, I can get 2 or 3 games done within the hour. Good enough for a quick flight up to the Scotland or something like that. You know, it just really works. You know, no bugs with it so far. Haven't had a problem with it. Works best on a tablet, I will say. That is a slight negative. You know, it's alright on a phone, but you kind of want a big phone screen to get the most out of it. But on a tablet, decent sized tablet, this will work swimmingly. So 7 Wonders, solid app. Like I say, doesn't shorten it a huge deal, and I guess you probably want it on a tablet rather than this phone, but it's solid enough to make my number 4. My number 3 is another 2-player game, which again would be quite easy to replicate, but there's a lot of cards for it now. You've got to sort out a lot of things with it, and when you start adding in expansions, it gets more cumbersome. It's a deck builder, so again, you've got the shuffling thing. It's nice that you can just have it, boonk, ready to go, and it's superb. Star Realms. Star Realms is a fantastic 2-player game app. I mean, I have played this so many times on the app versus the card game version. It's unreal, even though I've got the entire sort of Frontiers collection in the other room. I like it, and I play the Frontiers set with when I want to do those solo challenges. They're really good, but my God. You've got this, you know, half-decent song in the background that I sort of hum to myself when I'm playing it. You know, it's a nice little instrumental track, but everything is colourful, easy to see on the screen. I can see exactly what the opponent's doing, what life he's on, what life I'm on, what bases there are. If I need to see a card in detail, I can just click on it and tap on it and it will flare up. And, you know, it even reminds you of certain rules, like, you know, trashing a card. It will actually say to you, I recommend you play the trash bot first, because then you get to trash a card, etc. You can tell it to sod off, but you know, you can certainly at least go with, chances are you'll want to do it in that order, and it reminds you. It will also remind you if you've got unpaid credits, abilities you haven't used, that kind of thing, in case you're really new to the game. The AI ranges from, you know, not too much of a challenge on easy to, oh my God, this thing is killing me stone dead. You know, this is hell mode, you know, when it gets too hard. You know, I mean, I lose the game enough times on medium, but I feel I can put in a decent effort. On hard mode, the AI trounces me at the moment. I mean, have I even beaten it on hard mode? I'm not sure. I think I have. But, like I say, I'm not an expert at the game, but hard mode is like, sometimes you wonder if the app's cheating at times, because it's just like, how do you get such a perfect hand? But it works great, and if you want replay value, woo, yes, I mean, you've got so much DLC on that thing, it's unreal. And this is a slight negative that holds it back from getting higher. It is a bit expensive on that DLC front. The app itself is relatively cheap, but then you factor in that you've got to pay something like £1.50 to £3 for most of the DLC. There's a lot of DLC, and most of it is just giving you a bunch of cards. So it seems a bit of a rip-off for those things, and that's why it's docked to get any higher on this list. I mean, free is pretty good, right? Give me a break. But I couldn't make it 1 or 2 because I think the DLC is just a bit too expensive for this game. Although, to be fair, that's going to happen with my number 2 as well. However, when you consider how much you have to replicate in an app for Star Realms versus my number 2, yeah, you have to give my number 2 a bit more credit. But like I say, Star Realms, this is what I'm talking about. It's a phenomenal game, it's a great app version, pass and play, online or just against the AI. All the challenges in the world, you know, tweak the rules, try and beat it with this. The replay value is off the charts. So if you like deck builders and you want to try this game out, by all means, buy the app. You will not regret it. My number 2 is the game that you probably would have expected to be my number 1, but, you know, I gotta be fair. Okay, I gotta be objective here. This is definitely my favourite game of all time. Granted, yes, so an app version was going to be fantastic as well, but I've got the entire card game collection in the other room for Sentinels of the Multiverse. I love this game so much. It is a fantastic card, I can't even call it a deck builder, it's a fantastic co-op superhero game. The app is phenomenal. This app gives you a cool soundtrack, gives you like comic book style art and like panels that just pop off the screen. It gives you all the DLC for the game up to date. You can now go all the way to the Oblivion scenario, and believe me, playing Oblivion on the app is a lot better than playing it on the card game version. But of course, that DLC is quite costly, even if you get the season pass for it, but it's pretty good value for that season pass. You get a lot of content for that. But yes, and granted, you know, it in Star Realms has that sort of DLC pricey problem. But my God, one of the problems that people have with Sentinels of the Multiverse is the bookkeeping aspect, and I agree, that is a flaw of the game. You have a lot to keep track of, you know, all these abilities going off, oh, how much damage does he do, oh, when's that going to trigger, which one came out first, etc. The app solves all of that for you. If your one problem with Sentinels of the Multiverse was just the fiddliness of it, then get the app. With this one, you can easily see which hero you want in turn, you can see what cards you've got, what you're going to discard, the trash, what the villains got on the board, what the environment's got on the board. It will allow you to choose which order you want things to play out in. It will automatically apply damage and, you know, collate how much damage something will do and to whom. You could even just skip ahead and say, you know what, I don't care what order you do it in, just choose for me. And it will just quickly go for it, and you can even set the speed as to what it does at. Oh, with this one, it's just... And it's not even just the fiddly bookkeeping thing. It's the fact that it shortens the game as well, because you can get it in a quicker time. But if you want to really take your time with the game and think about all the cool combos, it will allow you to do so, no problem. But it just looks like a comic book popping on the screen. All the characters are there and they're cool artwork. They do like zoom from there, everyone's giving speeches. The soundtrack is really good and it's tailored to the different locations and even some of the like villains and that themselves. And it's just quite a cool theme tune as well. It's like do 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 do. It's just that you go sort of hum it to yourself, and even when the victory comes up and it shows like how you've done in that, and it's like, yes, it is your anthem that's playing as it finishes. Works, I will say, better on a tablet than it does a phone, you know, but you can play it on a phone no problem. It works great on a tablet, even works on Steam, but of course I'm talking about apps here, not Steam versions. But yeah, if your problem was fiddliness, this solves it. It basically, I play my card game version every now and again, but I play the app a lot. You know, the Sentinels of the Multiverse app is just so well designed, and when you have to factor in how much it's got to track, it has got to track so much information, so much timing, so much like options it has to give the player for what cards to get rid of and everything like that. For it to manage to solve all that for you and still make it a seamless, smooth experience is a high achievement. You know, this app is so much fun. It is a perfect replication of the board game. It is basically excluded the card game for many people. Some people got rid of their collections so that they could just keep the app. You know, I almost debated that for a while, but no, I still like having all my cards and the foil versions and stuff like that, and just being able to crank out a small game with the cards. I like that every now and again, but if I'm on the move, then be able to sort of go, you know what, I got an hour and a half on this journey, it's a bit longer, and I just want to play 1 or 2 games of Sentinels of the Multiverse. Here we go. You know, it does the job nicely. But what app could have beaten this one? And my number 1 board game app. Whoa, did anyone see this coming? This is a game that I've respected over time, but it's never appeared in my top 100, and it's never been one that I've gone out of my way to do because it's always been too long, a bit too fiddly, certainly with all the admin and bookkeeping, and, you know, mainly those 2 reasons really, and it was why I preferred another game on my shelf to it. But like I said, this top 10 is about how well the app does at replicating the original source and improving on it. In terms of, Sentinels of the Multiverse, it certainly improved on it, and it certainly solved a lot of the issues with it, but you still spend a fair amount of time playing the game. It's got a lot of DLC, it can cost a bit. It fell short of the mark for this one. But wow. Through the Ages is one of the best implementations for a board game I have seen. Sentinels of the Multiverse is fantastic, give it that, but this Through the Ages one, I've usually preferred Nations. I've preferred it to Through the Ages. I can get it done in a quicker time, with more players. It still gives me that same sort of Civilization card game feel. But I've always respected Through the Ages, but it was always too long. I'm sorry. If you can get it in a short time, you are the exception to the rule. But for most people, this is a game that can take you anywhere beyond 3 to 4 hours to do a 2-player game. And lo and behold, if you want to sit for a 3 and 4-player one with that downtime, oh god, no I don't. But it's also fiddly. Because you've got like all the boards for corruption and the population and the goods and that. And it does get very fiddly in the card game version. So it just put me off wanting to play it. Chex Game Edition brought out the 4th edition version of the tabletop game. And it was a really good implementation. It simplified things a bit, but it was still, again, a long game to play. It took hours. You had the fiddliness still there, but not to as bad an extent as 3rd edition. And it certainly looked nicer artwork-wise. This app, though, it may cost a fair bit to get at the start, about £8–9, which is expensive for an app. But you haven't got any DLC on top, so at least that is all you're going to spend. But you can tell effort went into this. I mean, it replicates the artwork from the 4th edition of the game perfectly, so everything looks colourful. I mean, we're not talking the most phenomenal artwork here, but it's nice and it pops on the screen. But the amount of care that went into the user interface and the tutorial for this. The user interface makes the game so much easier to play. I can see all the cards, I can see my population bank, I can see where my workers are, what they're doing, the amount of corruption I'm going to lose at the end of the turn, how much I will need to lose before I hit corruption. The cards in my hand, the military cards in my hand, my strength. I can even go to the opponent's board and see, right, he's got this, and that. Oh, he's taking that card, I don't know. You can get all the information you need to play this game off that screen. And again, works okay on a smartphone, but I definitely recommend, to be fair, most of these apps I recommend for tablet use, because the bigger the screen, the better. I think you can play this one on Steam as well, but this one is in app form as well. I think I just did a solo play of Through the Ages as well. That was my last video, so if you want to see it in action, go check out that video. But, oh, yes. It basically has elevated Through the Ages to a game I respected, to a game I like and want to play. Because now I can play it in a space of 45 minutes to an hour, usually about an hour. I mean, 30 minutes is if I'm not thinking about what I'm doing, but 45 minutes to an hour, I can crank out a game of Through the Ages. Perfect! It used to take hours and hours and hours to play the game. Now I can condense it in an hour or less. That is perfect. It also has what I believe to be the best tutorial in any app. I thought, right, I have not played Through the Ages in ages. I'm going to go through this tutorial and really get to grips with this game. The tutorial will take you less than 30 minutes, I think, to go through. I can't remember how long it took. I wasn't really keeping time. But it's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Because it does two things. Firstly, it teaches you every aspect of the game in a good step-by-step approach. So it doesn't bombard you with every rule to begin with. It just gets you actually playing with it. It doesn't sort of go, here's what you do. Then this, then this, then this. No, it sort of gets you to do the bare essentials. Like, try tapping on this card. Dunk. Alright, now, have you considered you can just drag a card? So it tells you how to do it in the long-winded version first, but then tells you how to speed it up. And it goes through every rule. Easy to explain, easy to understand, and it's got, for some reason, Vlado's portrait on there, Vlado Shavato, and it's done in a humorous fashion. So he's telling jokes, and the other cards have got speech bubbles coming out of them. They're back talking to him. They're giving him jip. Your opponent AI is like, "I will crush you, haha." And, "Oi, don't touch my screen. Get off my board. I will destroy you." It's like, it's just little gags like that make it so much fun. And you get rid of Vlado eventually. It's like, you must take me because I'm going to teach you the game. Alright, fine, I'll take you, teach me the game. And then eventually you replace him, But he ends up in your pyramids, and then he's talking about, well, it's comfy in here, you know, there's a nice sarcophagus, I can just lay in here. And then as somebody else is teaching you aspects, he's back talking from the pyramids. Like, Maggie Jones, excuse me, have you considered this? And it just makes what would be a dry learning experience so much more fun. It just makes it fun, and that is what I want in board games. You know, and for a game as complex as Through the Ages, to have a tutorial literally give me enough information that I can now play it without hesitation is brilliant. I'm not saying I'm an expert at it by any means, oh god no, but you know, I can beat the easy AI without even breaking a sweat. You know, medium AI takes a little bit more effort, but I can still beat that, and then obviously if you go any harder than that, oh my god. But you do get challenge modes on the app as well, a bit like with Star Realms. So, you know, you can play a game where everything's cheaper for everyone. You can play one where the opponent starts with Joan of Arc already. You can play one where the two opponents have already got stuff set up and you have to start on the back foot. It's such a good app. I can't say enough good about it. It's just, it looks great. It is well designed. It is easy to learn. It is easy to play. It has a great UI. This one, literally the main flaws with it is A, it costs a lot to begin with, but you can tell that that £9 went to something good in terms of development. And secondly, we still haven't had any expansions for this game. Now I've heard on the grapevine that Czech Game Editions might be doing an expansion of Through the Ages, if so, great. Although how long before it translates into the app version. But really the game could use more cards because it's got some replay value to it. But I think if you binge it, you're going to be seeing those cards come up all the time. Like, oh, look, iron again. Yeah, I'll get iron because why wouldn't I? You know, and I'll get this and this. And you do see a lot of repeat with the cards. But that is a small gripe, and that is more with the game itself, not a hindrance on the app. So, would you expect it? Through the Ages makes my number one. A game that I never talked about, you know, in the highest regard before. But that's the thing. The app has made it progress so high up my liking for it. It deserves credit for it. I already liked most of these other games. No, most. Sorry, I already like all the games on this list, but certainly, you know, the difference between, oh yeah, I already like this game, now I love it on the app, is a smaller increase than, I respect the game, but it's just too long, oh yes, I love this game. You know, it's a big jump, deserves the credit. So, before I go on to some honourable mentions, we'll talk about Patreon choices. They kind of overlapped a bit, I must admit. However, there was one that turned up, which I will talk about. Ganz Schlong Clever. This is the app where everybody's playing this, it seems. All I see on Facebook groups is, look at my score, look at my score, look at my score. I don't care, okay? Seriously, I play games to have fun. I don't care if I beat my high score. It's not how I play games. But, you know, granted, everybody likes this app. I like it fine. I mean, it doesn't really shorten it much from the normal game. I mean, you roll dice and you jot it down on a pad. You roll more dice and you jot it down on a pad. It's not the shortest game in the world to convert. And certainly I don't even like playing Ganz Schlong Clever multiplayer anyway because it's kind of pointless. I much prefer to play it solo. And the app is good. I mean, it works fine. You know, the UI is decent. It teaches you how to play the game. But it's not like it had to replicate much, really. I mean, it's basically a case of it will roll some dice for you, and then you choose what you want to do for it, and then it just does some arithmetic in the background. It's not... Granted, it's a lot easier to play on the app, but it's not like it was difficult to just take the normal card game, the normal dice version with you on travels as well. So it's not like it's like a revolution. But, you know, people do enjoy it, and it is there, and I like it fine as well. It's just... It's not a game that I want to play very often anyway, because I'm kind of done with it now. It's like there's only so many times I can play this game before I'm seeing everything again. Yes, I know people play this so that they can go, oh, I got 298 now, I can get 299. Oh, it's like, oh, for crying out loud. I just want to have fun. I do not care if I've got my... I was never one of those people as a kid who on arcade games wanted to say, look everybody, look, I got my 3 initials on the top of this scoreboard. Yeah, great, you've just basically advertised to the world that you've done nothing but play this game solidly for hours and hours on end while everybody else has been out socialising. Yeah, good on you, child. Yeah, so I just... It's just decent. I give it credit. It's good. It's a good app. If you like Ganz Schlong Clever more than I do, then by all means grab the app. I'm sure you will have a blast with it. But that's why it's not made my top 10, because I don't think it's like revolutionised Ganz Schlong Clever. And so if I was to put it on, it would probably be somewhere closer to my 20 maybe. I can think of a good few apps I prefer to it, but like I say, it's a solid app. The Patreons have spoken. Gan, Schlon, clever. Whether the Gan, Schlon, Dopplet or whatever it's called makes any difference, I don't know. It's the same game, just slightly tweaked rules. What does it matter? For honourable mentions, there was quite a few. I mean, I had a lot of apps to go through. I had to consider. On my 10 and 11 that I mentioned with duking it out earlier was between Carcassonne and Potion Explosion. Potion Explosion is a cool gateway game, well, gateway next step game, I think. It's a bit much for new players. But it's, you know, you've got to build that thing, you've got to put the marbles in it, and then it's hard to visualise where everything is, and then, you know, you've got downtime with other players because you are sat there looking at it for ages trying to figure out where I should take a marble from. The app speeds this up dramatically. It looks cool. It's got all the cool sound effects. It's nice and colourful. You can easily see what marbles are on there. So it is certainly a good implementation. I don't think I had to replicate much from the app. And also I think the AI is a little bit too hard. You play against one easy opponent and he can still trounce you without a second thought. And it's almost like the computer has deliberately set it up so that you end up in a situation where you can't physically make a good combo. And then you make one move, and then suddenly he does something, and it's like, and then gets about 20 different things. You know, maybe the difficulty could be tweaked on that a bit. San Juan, this one works fine as an app. It's just a bit ugly. It's not particularly nice to look at. I mean, you can speed it up so you can get through a game nice and quick, and I like San Juan as a game. But yeah, visually it's not that interesting, and you know, it could be a little bit easier to use from a UI perspective. But like I say, it would be in my early teens, I think. Paperback, decent, but again, not much of a looker, and it's, like I say, it does the job, but I feel that it's not the easiest one to kind of think, oh wait, what am I doing here? Where do I buy this, etc. And like I say, does the job fine though. Friday, not really optimized for certain devices. It works fine on a phone, but you try and play it on a tablet and it kind of looks weird. But it's a decent little solo deck builder, so you can easily, like, you know, and it's actually taught me that I've actually had a rule wrong for a while. I didn't realise that you only get life after you play the card and resolve the encounter, not get life as you're doing it, because I got caught out on a pirate escapade with that, where it's like, well, hang on, where's the extra life I just gained? Oh, and then it dawned on me. But yeah, it's not the best optimized app in the world. The tutorial is okay, it could be better, but like I say, it would definitely be in my shortlist. Hostage Negotiator, a decent app as well. It could use a few maybe bug improvements, but again, pretty decent. Onitama, a solid app, but it's not like you really had to do much with Onitama. It doesn't take up much space on the table, it's fairly portable anyway, but yeah, okay, an app is great for pass and play, particularly on a plane, but it's move a piece with a card, swap a card. It's not like the app had to do a lot. So, you know, it's, like I say, decent app, but it didn't revolutionise the game for me. What else we got? Terra Mystica, it's okay. It's a bit fiddly from a UI perspective. It's not one that, you know, people are suddenly going to be able to instantly learn Terra Mystica from. And it didn't shorten the game that much for me. I felt like you were still playing this game for a good length of time, particularly if you wanted to actually think about what you're doing. Granted, it's shorter than playing the game normally, but like I say, I feel it could still use a bit of work. Catan, nah, you want to play Catan with other players, so I never really cared too much about the app. I've not played Isle of Skye yet. I hear that's reasonably good, but I'm not hearing everyone rave about it though. What else we got? Already mentioned Mystic Veil is on Steam only, I can't count it. Scythe, same reason. Tokaido, and yes, Tokaido. Tokaido looks beautiful. It is a phenomenally gorgeous app. Visually great. UI could use a little bit of work, but you know, it's still relatively easy to learn and the tutorial was good. The main thing that hurts this app though from getting on the top 10 though is the replay value. It has been years since it's been released and they still haven't added any expansion content. It would not be difficult for you to program Crossroads in there. And Crossroads is the reason why people keep Tokaido. Tokaido, the base set, gets very repetitive very quickly. The reason it's on my top 100 is because of Crossroads. Crossroads gives you more replay value while still giving you that cool game. But the app only has the base version and you're paying a fair amount for the app for it. You know, by now you should have released the, you know, the Crossroads content. What is taking you so long, FunForge, or whoever designed this app? Seriously, get a move on. You know, you're losing people from this game if you don't get this expansion in. So, honestly, you've been told. Whew. So, like I say, slightly under the weather. I'm going to go rest up a little bit. But, yeah, you know, top 10 board game apps. What are your favourite apps? Do you like the apps that I've mentioned? Would you rank them differently? Personally, I'm more interested to see which apps I didn't mention that you think are good. I mean, I mentioned a few honourable ones, so if they are your favourites, then great, tell us why. You know, if there's an app on this list that you absolutely hate, tell us why. But I'm also interested to hear which apps I didn't mention at all that you want to give some credit to, because there's a lot out there. But stick to the caveats. You know, the best apps should be the ones that revolutionise the tabletop version of the game, and they must be on app format. If they're on Steam as well, great, but if it's only Steam, it doesn't count. I don't know if you can get Terraforming Mars on an app. I know you can get it on Steam, but to be honest, yeah, really? No. It's recently just put in the drafting variant, fair enough, but visually and UI-wise, that Terraforming Mars app needs a lot of work. It has nowhere near revolutionised that game for me. So, you know, I want to hear your thoughts. But for now, it's time for me to log off my app and get back to the real world. So for now, until, you know, if you see me at the expo, then by all means say hi. You know, it'll be great to see you. Otherwise, take care. Have a good time at the expo if you're there. And if not, just enjoy playing games, because I think around the expo time, it's also tabletop day. So I'll only be able to celebrate it to an extent, because I'll already be at the expo. But if you're celebrating it elsewhere, then by all means, I could be wrong on a tabletop day, am I? I don't know. Whatever. It's like I say, not feeling great, so my brain is a little fuddled at the moment, particularly as it's quite hot in this room. So take care, I'll see you soon, and remember, it's only a game app. That doesn't work. See you next time.